Good evening and welcome to the Italian Grand Prix here in the Virtual Open Wheel Series. It is season 4 and we are heading into that all-important last leg of the season. So after this we have got 2 races left. So this could be very important for the championship, especially considering the fact that Justin Meister, 8.6 e-racing driver, and probably the only other driver in championship contention, apart from his teammate Max Weichel, is currently doing a stint in an endurance race, which means, of course, he will be unable to race today. And so this could be a very important race for the championship. So we're using the exact same track as well, Season 3, as you can see the board there. But we're riding on board with Jakub Kalpasic right now. Well, not on board, but following him. Do apologise if my commentary is off today. In said endurance race, I have been on team radio all day for Justin and Max. Max literally finishing his stint, 15 minutes ago, pretty much. Which is also why this stream is slightly late. So let's get into some facts then, shall we, about this event. If you do, excuse me, I've forgotten to put the sheet up again on the stream. Which, isn't that convenient? The OBS deciding to crash on me. It's my internet hasn't been the greatest in the last few days. So we'll find here and we'll find monza.png. And if you do bear with me, I do apologise for this. This is what endurance racing, I wasn't even racing, gets you. So, facts about Monza. Monza began its life as a big oval racetrack. It had insane bankings, and if you go onto sims like Assetto Corsa, you can still actually race the oval, and it is a very entertaining thing to do. And of course, Monza is one of the most historical tracks on the Formula 1 calendar. And it, of course, is where the Tifosi come out in all force. Obviously, the fan base of Ferrari. So, championship leaders 8.6 e-racing have had to have a mix-up of driver lineup due to the CFEG 12 hours of Le Mans. Which means our championship could have some very big twists in it this weekend. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the updated standings on me right now. I forgot to grab them. But what we do have is the current practice. We have Copic Motorsport, Jakub, and then Massimiliano Riboli for Reading Game. Both 1 and 2 currently in practice. And we're on board with Aegis Battars, shall we? Going through the, third corner, second corner. One of the two. I do forget the name of this corner. But we're right on board with him anyway. Through the chicane. I don't know most of the corners' name for sector 1, but I do for the rest of the track, so that's fine. So we're going to actually have a look on his visor cam to see how he takes the Lesmos, dab on the brakes, and then at the apex, go a bit wide there, but in third gear, accelerate out of the corner. Third gear again, dab on the brakes, and then use most of the curb on the outside as he gets out there. Then he's going to go on the run down to Ascari under the bridge. And then he's going to brake, I'd assume, the 75 metre mark. Use a lot of the curb, avoid the curb on the inside. And I imagine he's probably going to use a bit of the curb, both on the apex and on the outside there. Shifting up to 6th gear, quite late there. But top speed of 290 miles an hour, kilometres an hour almost. And then for Parabolica, braking quite heavy. And then not getting on the power as early as he probably would have liked to here, Aegis. I think I just called him Jakub, that was my bad. But across the line for an outlap apparently. So 300 kilometres per hour, that is getting up to almost Formula 1 speeds there, which is really quite scary to think of in these Formula Renault cars with custom handling. That is quite the weird one. But anyway, let's have a look through the rest of the field and let's talk about the dark horses in the championship. Copic Motorsport, which I believe is this car that Emma Hammond is driving. So obviously Copic have had a bit of have had a good season, but it's been a weird one for them because they've had a really good start to the season and a really good season overall, but only really for Jakob. Emma Hammond hasn't had that brilliant of a season. He's been good, but he hasn't been on the par with his teammate. He's been constantly beaten by his teammate, which is obviously not what you want to do. So yeah, so could we see Kopic fighting for the championship properly in the coming seasons? I think we definitely could if they had a second driver up to scratch challenging his teammate week in, week out, which unfortunately for Emma, he's a good driver, but he hasn't been able to live up to that expectation. And actually, we should mention Alan Kopic in the Iris car. Now, the talk on the street is that the Iris cars are going to be pulling out of the for season 5 because obviously Dio Theranos, their owner, has basically quit the series, which means former champion Dimitri. We don't know where Dimitri's going to be going. Now, maybe Kopic would look at snapping him up. Obviously, with Alan Kopic and the Iris connection, maybe they'll snap him up and challenge for the championship next season. We'll have to see, because Iris had a really good driver lineup last season and didn't manage to do much. But if the Iris cars have a bad weekend, which, by the looks of things, they might not. Well, actually, I don't know. Alan Kopic in P5 and Dimitri in P4, so yeah, they won't have a bad weekend by the looks of things. But if they do, then Reading Game with Massi Ribioli could snap up that third in the championship, which obviously I want to happen, but might not happen with the driver troubles they've been having. Not driver troubles, but just a weekend today of, or a couple of weekends of not being able to use the main preferred driver lineup. Constantly changing with the junior team, and it's been a really good season for us, but not the best of seasons. Obviously, controlling the third spot, which I know we would like to, but that's enough of me being biased. I am trying to just move down the time until we get to the 7 o'clock mark, which will mean, obviously, that's when qualifying happens. Max Weichel going P2, actually taking it off of Massi, which I was speaking to Max, obviously, for the last, basically 6 hours, and he said that he hasn't done much practice on this track because of Le Mans. But obviously, he is Max Weichel. He doesn't need much practice. But maybe he'll be timing, because he has just done literally a 2.5, basically a 3-4 hour stint at Le Mans. And he was telling me how much his hands have been hurting. And obviously, because, he's got... he's basically done the equivalent of getting out of his LMP2 car, flying over to Italy, and then getting in a virtual open wheel series car and racing here. Obviously, in the virtual world, that means just loading up a different game. But either way, it's still quite interesting to see how well he does. And he seems to be doing quite well, to be fair to him, right now. Is able to improve on his time there. Now only 2 tenths behind Jakob. So let's move on to talk about who else can we talk about, actually. So Josh Jones, who is he racing for now? He's racing for Velocity. Now, Velocity, they had a really, really good start to the season. Looks like they'd be challenging for the title, but it hasn't really happened. It hasn't really happened for them. Similar story to Kopic, except they did lose. I think they lost one of their best drivers, or their best driver, which was Peter Jones. Well, see, is Peter Jones on the grid today? I don't think he is currently, but he might be. No, he isn't. Oh, Fabio Lozio. Now, last weekend he had to do his lap in the warm-up, which led to a bit of confusion between me and Ron in the commentary booth. But hopefully he'll be trying to improve on last weekend, where he threw away that win in the sprint race. You know, we're going to practice some of the camera angles now. Possibly going to use this one at the race. Look at that, watching the cars go through. There. But, so Monza is a very good track. And it's quite simple. I know most of the drivers love Monza. It is easily one of the most iconic tracks in Formula 1. Well, the most iconic track in Formula 1, I'd argue. Apart from Monaco, maybe. But obviously Monaco wasn't the best for these cars. But yeah, we'll ride on board with, who's this? I think this is Creox Baguette. Yeah, it is. We'll ride in his visor cam. Taking one of the first Lesmo in 4th gear, unlike someone else, and not shifting down again. 4th gear for the second Lesmo. Potentially not giving as much of an exit, but also keeping that rear end planted through there. Because you don't want to lose the rear end and get beached in the gravel. But we'll see. It'd be interesting to see where he brakes for Ascari. Braking bang on the 100-metre board. Hitting the curb, almost getting a touch of understeer there. Oversteer, sorry. Not taking as much curb on the apex, but taking a lot of curb on the outside. And his top speed isn't as good, we can see, compared to who we were riding on board with earlier, Aegis. And he brakes very early for Parabolica. I think this must be his outlap. But taking Parabolica in 4th. And then taking the Formula 1 2019 time trial line through there. Trying to slowly go to the outside of the track. Now, he hasn't got a very good top... He hasn't got a good top speed compared to Aegis, who almost had, like, 300 kilometres. First gear, and not going wide. That was my game lagging there. I do apologise. My internet hasn't been the best today. But we'll see. Quali in a minute. We will go into quali in a minute. So I am actually going to take a quick break before we go to quali in a second. And then we will be back in a minute. We'll see you at qualifying. Qualifying is go here in the Virtual Open Wheel Series Italian Grand Prix. Now, the one thing I forgot to mention, we'll see who goes out first here and ride on board with them. The thing that we always forget to mention with Monza, or can never forget really with Monza actually, not forgetting to mention, is that horrible turn 1. Turn 1 can be very, very dicey here at Monza. And obviously the tow as well can be really powerful. I wonder how many teammates are going to be giving each other tow. Possibly the Copic boys. But by the looks of things, no, they're not. Which might be quite weird, because if you could give each other a tow, you'd easily get pole position. And pole position at Monza is quite good. Even though the slipstream, I imagine, is even more powerful than Canada, actually. But if you can defend well at Monza, like Charles Leclerc in the real-life Grand Prix, then you'd pretty much be set. Because the difference between this and the real-life one, this is the 2009 version, I think, of Monza, is obviously the runoff there at that second chicane that we all know and hate is gravel rather than tarmac, so it isn't as forgiving. If you go through there, you could ruin your race. But look at how he took the Lesmos there, even though this is his outlap for Jakob. Now, tyre wear isn't as bad in R-Factor 1 as it would be in like a modern simulator. So you can afford to take your outlap kind of flat. Well, not flat, you know what I mean, kind of full pace. And then just slow down to maybe let someone through to get tow. Because obviously tow can be a decider at Monza. Jakob taking a lot of curb and taking Ascari almost perfectly. And we will ride in his visor camp for his first lap. There he is warming up his tyres. Nice. And safely. Going a bit wide at Parabolica, touching a bit of the grass, but not too much. Going into 6th gear quite early, before the pit entry really, but also taking quite a wider line out than the other person we were on board with earlier. 282 kilometers an hour, 100-meter board, first gear, clip the curb, and then clip the other curb. But careful not to take too much of it, otherwise you will lose the rear end, as we will probably see in the race today at turn 1. 5th gear, and then obviously he wants to be taking hugging tight close to the curbs for that corner there. And then I imagine he'll be taking this at just the 75, not board, but 75 mark, getting out of that second chicane nicely there. Touch of the brakes in 4th gear, taking the Lesmo 1. And then he's going to barely brake for Lesmos 2, 3rd gear. And then the run down to Ascari is completely flat. Maybe touching a bit of curb there, but that's not necessary. And then keeping as straight as possible until you get to Ascari, where he's going to brake at the 50-meter board, chuck it in, hit the curb, take a bit too much of the outside curb, but that's probably just lag, and then use all of the curb he can to get himself turned in. And I do apologise for this lag. It isn't making for the best viewing experience, but we can't really do much. 50-meter board, 4th gear, he'll be taking this, and then out he goes to the high line there, pretty much, and then taking the F1 time trial line to get as best of an exit he can out of there, and going across the line for a 1:34.4. Maybe he'll wait up now to see his teammate, or is he going to go for another flying lap? I think he might go for another flying lap, you know, as long as he doesn't do that through there. That looks quite cool. Jason Ho now in the Clipper car. Clipper, of course, being that one team that aren't actually a team. Joe Gillett there going through the maze, except not really mazing it. That wasn't the most amazing attempt at that maze, if you will. I say maze, it's not a maze. As I said, it has been a very long day for me. And I haven't even been driving. But, so maybe he's going to be waiting up for Joe Gillett to get that slipstream down that main straight. We will have to see how that works out. Oh, but no, he clobbers the barrier and is back to the pits. So we'll have a look around and see Joris Bilkins navigating turn 1 and turn 2 very nicely. I think it classes as 2 turns. And then Fabio Lozio not taking the risk of, I would say flat spotting his tyres, but of course flat spotting isn't in this game, I don't think. I say game, simulator is the word I should use. That one's difficult to explain to people who don't play racing sims. I do apologise, I've got a slight bit of a stuffy nose. And a sore throat from all the talking I've been doing today. But Joris now doing the Lesmos nice and simple on the run down to Ascari. We'll see how well he takes this. You can hear the sound of the engines there as they bore past. The Season 3 branding still up, as you mentioned earlier. Navigating Ascari perfectly there, Joris. Not taking as much curb as everyone else on the line there. Perhaps he's going to try and get the toe off of the person who has just gone back to the pits down this No, Josh Jones. Yeah, maybe he's going to wait up for the toe of Josh Jones. Or speed up for the toe of Josh Jones, I should say. And bear with me 1 second. Interesting way for Joris to be negotiating turn 1 there, as you may have just seen. Probably invalidating his lap. I'm surprised he's gone to carry it on. But we'll see what time he takes. Max Weichel taking provisional pole, actually. That's impressive from him, considering he's just driven an endurance race for pretty much 4 hours straight. Of course, he late night for all of us tonight in that endurance race. 1 o'clock finish here in the UK. After this, it's straight back to R Factor 2. But that doesn't take away from the fact that we still have 7 minutes left in this qualifying session. We'll see what chat says. It just says Jason Ho has joined the game. But 134, you have to accept maybe someone's going to beat a 134 and go for a 133. But interestingly, UGR Ultra Grip Racing, which is basically the Friday night series of Vows, it's pretty much Vows 2, except it's more casual and less serious than Vows, which is pretty much the premier series in R Factor 1 sim racing, or competitive sim racing I should say. Vows being pretty much the GPVWC of Super League of R Factor 1, minus the R&D and like 15-year history. But UGR cars actually were going quite faster here. 1:28 was the quali time for Ultra Grip Racing, if I do remember, and that proves that basically what can be used as a junior series for Vows, with people like NRWO there, and you know, older Vows teams, and also Silent Point, which is another reading game team. But yeah, so that means that the UGR cars, which are, I believe they are Formula Renault, but the step up from this with insane, basically bumped up to the max. So yeah, they are evidently like basically 6, or let me work this out, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, yeah, 6 seconds faster than the Vows cars. It would be interesting to see, like, in a genuine race, just which one does which, or which one is better. And obviously, Jorvis going on 2 wheels there, which means Aegis has to avoid that. But we'll move on from looking at Jorvis, and we'll go to Alan Kopic in the Iris car and watch his lap whilst I babble on. So, yes, so what is essentially a feeder casual series, basically the Formula 2 of Vows, for those cars to be faster with bumped up aero, that would be insane. Now, obviously, the speculation is that maybe we'll be using the UGR cars for next season, but I doubt that personally. Now, Max did tell me off last week for giving a hint about next year's car, or next season's car, sorry, so I'm not going to. But I will talk about, however, whilst we watch Alan Kopic's lap here, I will talk about the prospect of having a 10 race calendar. So obviously the current calendar for the Virtual Open Wheel Series is 8 rounds, so 16 races, because it's 2 rounds per race, or 2 races per round. And the talk is that maybe there'll be a 10 season calendar, or for 2020 mainly, because I don't think we'll get another season in for 2019. Or we probably will, but not the easiest thing we can do. Well, right on. We'll go with Will Metcalf now and see how he does. Currently sitting in P8, Will Metcalf in qualifying. Dimitri going quite slowly there. So, yeah, so we are going to be trying. So, a 10 season calendar would mean, as I think it was Jan Santon pointed out, rather talented livery designer and admin in the Virtual Open Wheel Series. He pointed out that if we had a 10 season calendar, that would mean a summer, winter, autumn and spring season. It would be able to fit it perfectly in to each season, with a 3 or 4 week break between each seasons, where we can do like the Indy 500 or DTM. Even though DTM didn't exactly go too well with the Virtual Open Wheel Series. But that's the kind of thing in the history of the series that we don't mention. Anyone who was in DTM will remember that race at the Novice Ring. Turns out R Factor 1 series aren't really suited for the Novice Ring, is what we found out. Even though it was a fun track and it's a fun race, it was a pretty fun thing overall, track. But so yeah, I kind of am babbling and trying to fill the time, because there isn't much to commentate on right now as we wait for qualifying to be over. So, yeah, so a 10 race calendar 10 races to a season would be perfect, because you'd be able to do a season, like 4 seasons in a year, which is about right. So that would mean we go to season 8 pretty much next year, if we're on season 4 now. Which, I don't know what that was. Anyway, let's have a look at Max Weichel, if he is in the pits or not. And if not, we'll have a look at what he does on his onboard lap, because that is always quite interesting. As it happens, there he is. Right, we'll assume he's on a hot lap. Or on an out lap, sorry, I should say. And then we'll see how he does this final turn now. Parabolica, one of the most tricky turns on this track. To get right, anyway. 4th gear, flat out of there. We'll see what Max's top speed is. Gear 5, really good exit speed there. 260 miles an hour already before the pit straight. 270 kilometers an hour, sorry, 280. Seeming to max out at about 280, so not quite the top speed of his teammate. 100-meter board down to first. Clips the curb on the inside. Careful not to hit the sausage curb, but hits the curb on the outside. Slight touch of the gravel, but that shouldn't lose him too much time. Now he goes to the outside now to try and hit what there is of an apex here, and then he hugs it tight, you'd assume, heading through there. Now the second chicane, which we all do know and hate. 75 metres about. Second gear, accelerates right through that corner. Touch of oversteer on the as he goes out of the corner. Lesmos 1 then. Just before he has to turn into the corner, he dabs on the brake down to 3rd. 4th gear then, a bit of traffic ahead of him, but you'll see how he negotiates Lesmos 2. He touches the gravel on the outside. That's probably going to not do the best for his lap, but we will continue. So 5th gear now. 6th gear on the run down to Ascari. You'd assume about 50, but just before the 50-meter board. Hits the curb on the inside. Hits the curb on the entry to the corner. Hits the curb in the corner. Hits the curb out of the corner. And then slows down, because he's like... Yeah, I was on a good run of commentary then. So we'll have to speak to Max about that later. And see what happens. So we'll go again on the commentary of that lap. 25 seconds, so he will be able to just get a hot lap in. So 6th gear now, flat, making sure he goes as straight as possible to lose as little time as possible and squab off as little speed down this main straight. 100-meter board. The braking on these cars is insane. 1st gear, slight touch of the sausage curb, oversteer on the exit. Goes to the outside here, so he can hit what is there of an apex on this corner. What there is of an apex on this corner. 5th gear through here, not choosing to shift up to 6th until quite late. 75 metres, curb on the inside, curb on the entry, curb on the exit, accelerating quite late out of there. He's going to, just before he turns in, dab on the brakes into 3rd gear, try and not hit the barrier there. And then as late as he can again, 3rd gear through Lesmos 2, and he's going to take it well this time. So 4th gear, 5th gear, he's going to stay clear of the curb on the inside there. 6th gear, down on the run to Ascari. Just before the 50-meter boards, takes a lot of curb there. Take on the entry to the corner, takes a curb on the exit, and takes the curb on the outside there. All 3 curbs in Ascari, or 4 curbs, sorry, you've got to take them all to make the most of Monza. Sometimes you can even get away with a cheeky little cut. Now, will he be able to steal pole from Jakub Kalpasic? 4th gear on the exit of the corner. He hasn't got as good of an exit as he did on his outlap, but he's still going to hit 255 before he gets to the pit entry. We're going to see, can he take pole off of Jakub? No, he cannot. He can only go 1/10 slower. Perhaps that little mistake at the first Lesmos has cost him. That is qualifying over. We'll show you what there is. So it's Jakub, Max, Dimitri, and then Massey and Will Metcalf. Your top 5 today. So, what a qualifying session we have had on that last lap for Max. Not able to make much of it though. So we are going to go to a break until the warm-up is over. And then we will be back for race 1 of the Virtual Open Wheel Series Italian Grand Prix. See you in a minute. as with most warm-up sessions, it is quiet around the pit lane here at the Virtual Open Wheel Series Italian Grand Prix. Apart from a few people messing around doing donuts, crashing into each other in the pit lane, as is the normal for races here. It's quiet, and everyone is ready for the Turn 1 carnage that we are bound to get. In case you are new and you haven't seen a Virtual Open Wheel Series race before, it's a formation lap, a race. It usually takes about 20 minutes, and then after that race, it is a second race with a reverse grid. It's going to be quite the difficult one today, specifically. Sorry, I don't know what I'm talking about. It's warm-up, and I'm also trying to share the stream link and drink at the same time. It's difficult. I'm also fully conscious that my cars could have crashed out of Le Mans, and I won't know until I finished this. But anyway, I'm going to have a look at the Open Wheel Series Discord, type one thing, then we'll be back. I should hope the button 8 isn't bind to anything. No, it isn't. This is the kind of thing you get with things like this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm gonna turn off for all non-essential personnel. Please leave the grid now, dude. Or not. Yep, all non-essential personnel are leaving the grid now. The legend himself speaking there. And we'll wait for the grid to form up with Jakub Kalpasic on pole. And yes, once we've done this, we'll be able to get going here in the Virtual Open Wheel Series Italian Grand Prix. Jakub here will actually try and hang on. Still trying to get used to this. And we've started warm up again because this is R-Factor 1. That's what happens. So, Alan Kopic is delaying us, so blame Alan. Josh James has rejoined us. Everyone's a tiny bit annoyed, as we should be. So I'm just going to mute myself for a second whilst I wait for this until I wait for the grid to reform, or to the grid to form, and then we'll do the formation lap and we'll get underway here. the call is for all non-essential personnel to finally leave the grid now. That has been the longest warm-up session ever. Matchmaker died for Alan, which is why. He's not the happiest of that factor. We'll wait for the grid to form up, then we'll get into the first race. I have found out that we that we did crash in Le Mans. Not bad though. It's all fine. And of course we've got to concentrate on this race with the formation lap starting now. So, my prediction for the race. So, I've got to say race 1. I'm going to go with my own driver. I know I'm not really meant to, but I've got to say Massey's going to win it. It's his home Grand Prix. He'll know this track inside out, as most people do. Monza is the easiest track to learn. Very hard to master, mind you. Something I haven't quite cracked myself, as evident by UGR. But, you know, Massey will know this track well, and I can see there being a big issue into turn 1 with Jakob and Max Weichel and Dimitri. And Massey might be able to pick up the scraps. But Monza, of course, being a short lap. I don't know how many laps we've got. With 16 laps. That's not bad, actually. 16 laps is decent for Monza. Wow, I don't want to know what I'm going to be like tomorrow after a 1 o'clock finish for Le Mans. Hopefully we'll have one back next week, or at least Martin. So they'll be able to pick up on my little blunders. Is blunders the right word? I think it is. It is now. But yeah, so we'll have a look at chat. 3 watching now. I'm surprised. This is the lowest viewing figures we've had this year, which for probably the best track on the calendar, apart from Spa. You know, you'd think that people would. You think that people would want to watch this more than they would Circuit of Wales. Not that Circuit of Wales is bad. It's just that can Circuit of Wales hold up to Monza? I don't think so. So through Parabolica now, Jakob is. We'll wait for the grid to reform, warming up his tyres, but also making sure that they don't like mess up horrendously. Perhaps 1 or 2 people have done a little burnout on the grid to lay down some rubber. Of course, I think R-Factor 1 has a slight real road system, not as good as R-Factor 2, but still a real road system nonetheless. So we wait for the grid to form up, and I'm just going to see if there's any like camera we can use. Oh, here we go. We'll wait for the lights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's lights out, and away we go here. It seems to be a very good start for Max Weichel. Jakob goes to try and cover him on the inside, but it looks like Max Weichel's going to have him into turn 1. Maybe Dimitri can join in and see if he can make up anything. But Jakob manages to defend quite well for Max, and Max seems to be kept at bay there. But we'll see heading into turn 3. Everyone else in the field seems to be away quite cleanly. No horrible scenes now, but Max goes down the inside into here. It's almost 3 wide further back there, with Massimiliano Ribbioli getting up into P3, I think, and then there's Joe Gillett going across the gravel. But yes, Massey's into P3, overtaking Dimitri. I wonder what happened to Dimitri. We will probably not find out, but he seems to be quite far down the order. We'll have a look now across your screen. Max Weichel obviously overtaking. Oh, and there's a little bit of an issue further back with Jason Ho. And Dimitri seems to have gone down the order quite a bit, possibly a spin from him. But we'll have to see. And now Jakob and Max will probably be left to their own devices. But Jakob actually in the slipstream now. Can he go for the move? Hope probably down the main straight. He's not stupid. I thought my tablet was making noise then. Apparently not. Down the main straight, we will ride on board to see if he can get in the slipstream and make a move heading into turn 1. That horrible chicane that will probably cause some issues in the sprint race, I'd imagine. but in the slipstream. Look at how powerful the slipstream is. We had Canada with that enormous straight, and now we have Monza with this enormous straight. Can Max cover him off? He seems to, because if you have the inside line, you then have the inside line. If you have the outside line, you have the inside line into turn 2. And if you have the inside line into turn 2, then you've done half of the work. But now Jakob stays, or doesn't stay in the slipstream. He goes to the outside for some reason. Not far enough, not close enough to make a move there. So we'll move further back and see Will Metcalf going for a move on Massey, almost making contact. But he does slightly, but it doesn't have any negative effects for either of them, apart from maybe Will, who didn't make the move stick. Now Massey kind of weaves in and out there into Lesmos 2, down into Ascari. Will Metcalf be able to make a move? It looks like he's going to. It looks like he's going to get it done. On Massey, the Italian. He does get it done. But is he going to keep it planted through Ascari? I think he is. But Massey, using a very good line out of there, he's going to stay in the slipstream, presumably down into the final Parabolica. If I am getting any of my corner names wrong, this is the only track where I know some corners, so if I am, just please let me know and I'll change. In the toe now, Massey is going to stay in the toe, you'd imagine, and yes, he'll be close enough, almost 100%, to sail by the looks of things. He'll make the move stick before turn 1. And then further forward, actually, Max Weichel almost forces Jakob wide, and then they're going side by side, heading into turn 3, and Max Weichel makes his defence, permanent, pretty much. Apart from heading, now maybe Jakob's going to go for the dive bomb, but no, he thinks better of it, which is probably the most sensible thing he could have done there. Now let's have a look further back in the field now, after we've seen Jakob. If he goes for that move, he won't. He's not that stupid. We'll look further back, make sure everyone's okay. Josh Jones looking determined as he goes for the move on Fabio out of the chicane, but doesn't quite make it. He is too far back for that, but actually, he goes for the move into the Lesmos, and he crashes, doesn't get any damage by the looks of things, but it's okay. And then, who was that? Was that one of the Kraussek Grand Prix cars having an issue? Massey seems to hold off Will Metcalf for now, but we'll have a look at actually the Jakob Max situation. Jakob in the slipstream, staying in the slipstream. He's going to brake quite early there. 4th gear, touch the curb. And then he's going to get on the power quite early. 5th gear now. Now he's got some very good top speed. And he goes for the move. And he's going to make this stick. He has got insane top speed compared to Max. And can he make it? He makes it done. He makes it stick before the first chicane even. I'm surprised turn 1 hasn't caused many problems at this current moment. But everyone seems to be negotiating it quite well, with Will Metcalf making the move on Massey. We'll keep you updated on this battle. Slightly smaller grid today, which usually happens towards the tail end of the Val season, because people get into other leagues and things like that. And Massey goes for the move, and he's going to make it stick. Or is he? No. Will Metcalf gets a really good exit. And Max Weichel there, making a mistake, and he's now behind his 8-6 teammates. Aegis, Batars, and Massey going wide there, almost clipping the ohm board there, the marker board. 3rd, 4th. We're going to move away from this battle for the moment and have a look further back with the 8-6 cars. Ala Hammond once again finds himself in an 8-6 sandwich. We'll have a look at Max Weichel. He's going to go for the move on the both of them. Aegis almost collects his teammate, but he doesn't. And then Amma Hammond, where's Amma Hammond? Amma Hammond is forced wide and loses both positions. You can't do anything about a simple spin. But now we're going to have a look at Massey, see if he's close enough at all to make the move heading down this main straight now. We'll look at his visor cam and see what his top speed is compared to Will Metcalf. If I remember correctly, it wasn't that impressive. Will Metcalf almost weaving to the outside there to make sure he loses a slipstream. And Massey, look at the top speed on his reading game car there. Almost 300 kilometres an hour if he was going for any longer. And he keeps it planted through there in first gear, almost sliding, but like keeping it under control throughout all of that. 5th gear, 6th gear now on the run down to the second chicane. Maybe he's going to be close enough to go for the move. He looks like he's going to, but he thinks better of it, which is probably the sensible thing for him to do. Will Metcalf almost getting on 2 wheels there, but we're going to look further back to see if there's anyone who's looking racy. And it looks like we are missing out on a great battle with the Ozone Invictus Motorsport cars. We'll watch this from the view of Joe Gillett's teammate, who is Alex Hallows, of course, the owner of Ozone Invictus Motorsport, who crashes at the Lesmos and almost collects Joris Bilkins, but doesn't quite. And then his teammate, who is Joe Gillett, also has a little incident there. Looks like that was a good battle that we missed out on because we were too busy with the battle at the front. And now looking at Massey, he's going to have another go into down this main straight. Of course, we are on lap 5 now, going into lap 6. 10 laps to go in this race. Massey looks like he's going to have the move stick with his insane top speed. We'll have a look. Look how much that car is shaking from the vibrations caused because of how fast he is going. 195 kilometers per hour almost. Touches the curb. Stays well clear of that sausage curb because that can do some quite a bit of damage. Aegis Batteur's recovering from that early spin quite well by the looks of things. Just behind his teammates. But Dimitri looks like he is going to see if he can do anything against the 8-6 reserve driver. Brakes decently early for that. Not too early though. And gets much of a better exit than Aegis, who makes a slight mistake. But Massey just needs to stay in the slipstream and see if he can make a move. Pretty much a switchback without being a switchback, but no, he's decided to stay in the slipstream, braking quite early for Lesmos too. And then Aegis Batteurs makes a mistake, and Massey looks at, not Massey, Dimitri Giannopoulos. I found out finally how to pronounce his surname. Looks like he's going to go for the move down the inside, possibly into Ascari. No, he thinks better of it. He takes a bit of curb on the just before he turns in, which is unusual here. But now we're going to see what he can do in the slipstream. But we do know that Aegis has look at that top speed. The top speed from Aegis is insane. We'll have a look. He gets quite a bit of top speed. Now look in his mirror, and there's actually Dimitri. That famous commentary line from I think it was OF1C. Dimitri screaming. But of course, look at the top speed of Jakob. 302 kilometers an hour. That man must be running practically no downforce. Yet he's got no cornering speed whatsoever because Dimitri just capitalises on every little bit through the corners. We still run Jakob, Massey, Will, Metcalf, Max Reichel, Aegis Battars. Even when they haven't got their full driver lineup, 8-6 get good finishing positions by the looks of things. 3rd gear now, negotiating that very well. Dimitri there. And we're going to keep riding on board with this battle because it is very entertaining. And Aegis making a mistake there, but Dimitri has to lift off to make sure he avoids the 8-6 car. Staying in the slipstream. Slipstream is so important on Monza. It is basically the closest thing you have to an oval that is a road track. Very flat, with of course Kimi Raikkonen in 2018 recording the lap in the most on throttle lap in Formula 1 history, I believe, with the most lap of the lap fully on throttle, like completely flat in Formula 1 history, which just shows the downforce of those cars. But of course, back to the virtual world, Dimitri gets a very good exit from there and looks like he's got the move done. And like, we suddenly didn't see Aegis go through there, but Dimitri goes into the pits, and then Will Metcalf, Massey goes for the move on Max Reichel, and then it's almost 3 wide. Looks like Massey's going to have it stuck. He's going to make it stick. And, he almost touches he does touch the sausage curve, and now he's down to P3, and we're going to keep going on this battle. This has been a very entertaining race. here in the Virtual Open Wheel Series Italian Grand Prix. Masi almost had the lead of his home race there, but didn't quite get it, with a slight mistake being forced into a mistake by Will Metcalf and Max Weichel, the thing that they do best. Max Weichel, though, 4-hour stint, pretty much, at Le Mans, turns up to Vowles and almost, or looks like he may win. We'll ride on board with Masi because it seems to be the best view of the battle at the front now, with one of the people in the battle at the front. With, actually, this is a battle not for the lead, but because, of course, Jakob is in the lead. That was my bad. I didn't look at the screen properly. For now, Masi's in P4. If he loses the podium at his home race, he will be bitterly disappointed after how well he's performed so far. Being P2 in practice at one point, and he looks like he's going to get the better exit off the corner here than Will Metcalf. On the power a lot earlier in the slipstream. Not following him into the pits, but guzzling up as much slipstream as he can. Now we're going to see the battle in the pits, because maybe Will Metcalf is going to have a shorter stop than Max. And we're going to see from Max's position how quick this stop's going to be. And it looks like he's got him still, which makes sense. But Will is right on his tail. But obviously Max gets to leave the pit lane earlier than Will and is on throttle for more. And now Fabio Lozio looks like he's going to join in pretty much, possibly tangling with Max, causing Max to slow down a little bit. But not too much. And there's someone who had to go through the little maze thing there. Joyce Bilkins going through. Everyone else seeming that they go through just fine. We'll watch them go through the chicane now. And Fabio Lozio defending from Max quite well, but Max going through there into the Lesmos and going through. Will Metcalf possibly following them through. Now this will play into Masi's hands quite well up front, because now Masi, who will probably pit this lap, I imagine, might be able to. We'll put the mini map up for you actually and see if we can see the pit lane on here. Oh, you can't see the pit lane. That's my bad. So we're going to see, can Masi make a pit stop work and the overcut work with the battling that's been going on with Will Metcalf. Can he make it work? If I had to guess, I'd say yes. Aegis there going in, and we'll see if Masi can make it stick. Look there, who's going down the pit lane? That's Creox Baguette. That's not who we're after. And then there's Max Weichel, and it looks like he's not gonna have it, Masi. It looks like Will Metcalf and Max Weichel have got him. Max Weichel has definitely got him, and then Will Metcalf has also got him. That will be disappointing for Dimitri, to say the least. For Masi, to say the least. But I'm a hammer now on Dimitri. Is he going to go for the move? Possibly into the chicane, you'd imagine. But he does seem to have good speed through turn 3. And yeah, I imagine he is going to go, or not go for the move into the chicane. Thinks better of it. Which I'm not sure why he did that then. But we'll have a look. Everyone going through there. Nice and clean. And then Dimitri going through Lesmos 2. Possibly going for a move on Will Metcalf, but I believe that this won't be a battle for position. It'll be a battle for track position, but not actual position in the race because of pit stops and things like that. We're going to have a look at the live stream comment section quickly. And it looks like there's no one who has said anything, which is after last week. I won't moan at that. Dimitri looks to be way too far back on Will Metcalf there to make anything stick of that. And Max Weichel goes to the move on Creox Baguette. Quite an adventurous move. And they both make contact. And Creox Baguette is fine. However, surely he's just going to let Max go. And doesn't come into the pits, weirdly. And looks like there could be a tussle between everyone at the front here. I wonder why Masi's pit stop was slightly longer than the rest of them. But we'll find out later in... not post-race interviews, because we've got to go back to Le Mans And Kriok Spaghetti is like, yeah, fair enough. The championship leader can go through, or will be the championship leader. Pretty much whatever happens after this race, because obviously his teammate isn't racing. But if I'm correct, 8-6 might win the championship if they do win here. Obviously, how many laps have we got to go? 5 laps to go. Which isn't a long time here at Monza. To apologise, had to have a drink. And then Max Weichel, a little slide there, drifting. He's used to driving in the rain because of Le Mans. Now, Jakob, out in front. He has been absolutely dominant this race. Now, put him in a team like 8-6 and he could easily win the championship. Or, like, if you just had... Well, no, he can win the championship pretty much. If it wasn't for 8-6's domination and 1-2s, take out 8-6, Jakob would win the championship. He is absolutely dominant in races like this. And then Max Weichel, like 11-second gap between the two. That is quite the gap to build, especially in a race this short. And then we'll have a look to see where the rest of the field are. Kriok Spaghetti coming in for his pit stop finally. Quite late, actually, come to think of it. Massey now wondering what's happened. Going on 2 wheels there. As per usual. With if I'm correct, I think that's the generic R-Factor helmet. We'll zoom out now. This is a good camera angle, actually. The Swingman camera. Looking almost like a... looking almost like Mario Kart going through here. Or one of those dodgy motorsport manager games you get on your phone. But anyway, we'll look further forward to see the battle between Dimitri, Will Metcalf and Max Weichel. I love watching them go over the curb here. And that's Massey going off there. And you imagine we'll have a look to see who else is going through. Sorry about this camera work. And it looks like there's going to be no one for a while, apart from Kriok Spaghetti and then Jason Ho. Going quite wide there, Jason Ho. We'll go back to Will Metcalf, who looks like he could be making a move in a couple of laps on Max Weichel, who we'll see if he's closing the gap at all to Jakob. I don't think he will be. Well, if we actually have a look, we can see the lap times now on here. So Jakob's last lap, or Jakob's lap time, seemed to be mostly in the 130s, apart from his pit stop lap, you can see. Mostly in the 134s, 135s. And then if we go back, we can see Max's laps, which seem to actually be decently the same. They seem to be decently on the same pace. Max maybe being a little bit more consistent. So we'll have a look, and it'll be interesting to see whether Max can close that gap, or whether we're going to end up with Jakob winning the race, where he is. You have to feel he's probably deserving it. But Dimitri now going to steal the podium off of Will Metcalf. I don't think he's pit yet, actually, Dimitri. Which you'd have to think would be a bit of an annoying reason to miss out on a podium. But maybe he's going to go for the move into Lesmos 2. He does, and that is a beautiful move, making it stick. But we do know that Dimitri's top speed isn't the best, after we saw with his battle with Aegis, which Will Metcalf goes back at him into Ascari. Makes it stick, by the looks of things, before Ascari. Both drivers going through there, fine. We'll ride on board on Dimitri's T-Cam. Will Metcalf doing a very good job of breaking the slipstream in this race. Controlling when he makes his moves. And it would be a well-deserved podium for him, you'd have to feel. Except Dimitri goes through. He leaves a wide, gaping gap. And we'll see if Dimitri has pit on his lap times, actually. And we can see that there is a pit stop there on lap 6, which makes sense. So this is a battle for position, and Will Metcalf goes sailing past. And then Massey is under pressure from Aegis Batars, and I think 8-6 can win the championship today. I'll have a look at the at the standings and get back to you on that one. We'll go and check them now, actually, whilst not much else is happening in this race. So, 86 currently hold a lead by about, if they make it to 100 points, which would mean, so they're on 266 points and Copic Motorsports are on 170. So, that would mean if 86 get their points total to 100 more than Copic, then they would win the championship, if I'm correct. So we'll look at that after this race and we'll see where the two 86 cars have finished. So I will note this down on my tablet, actually. So we'll go on to the notes app, because this could be quite interesting as we watch Dimitri make contact with Will Metcalf there. So at the moment it would be 19 points, I think, for second. So we'll have a look quickly. So I know you can't actually see this. So at the moment it would be 19 points plus whatever Aegis gets in P5, actually, which I don't know. Him and Massey going for the move and Massey making it stick, I think. Defending quite well there. We'll have a look, because this could be quite an entertaining move. So 19 points plus 266. We'll go on a calculator for this, actually, whilst you watch the move on Dimitri. Aegis going and making that stick. So he's now into P5. So we need to go on the calculator. So it'd be 266 points plus the 19 that Max gets, plus presuming whatever Aegis gets, which, if you excuse me, I don't actually know. So already they're on 285 points, but then 170. Hang on, bear with me, sorry. So 170, which is what Copic were on, plus the 25 for the win that Jakob would get, that's 195 points, which means, if you bear with me, and we find out how much it is points for P5, Massey looking like he's going to end up in P6. So it looks like it's pretty set in stone right now. We'll just follow on board with the battle between Dimitri and Will Metcalf. So Formula 1 points system. Because we do follow the same point system as Formula 1. Dimitri going for the move on. Looks like he might make it for the podium. Heading into what is the final lap, actually. That is the end of the race. Will Metcalf no, it isn't, sorry, that's my bad. So we'll follow on the final lap and then we'll work it out probably after. So 25, so for P5 it is 10 points, which would mean if results stay as they are right now, 86 E-Racing would take the championship. Dimitri making the move on Will Metcalf. So as it stands, 86 E-Racing would be the champions. No, they wouldn't, because of second race. Okay, ignore me. That has been the most useless. Because of second race points, they can't take the championship. I don't think. But I'll have to get back to you on that one. I was thinking that the next 3 races, max 75 point. No, yeah, I am completely mad. That was me going mad. Assuming Copic. Yeah, ignore me. But we'll watch it, and we'll find Jakob, who is going round Parabolica now to make it a dominant victory for him. Copic Motorsports take, well, one of the most dominant wins in this season. And then we'll see as Max Weichel goes through the straight, then 12 seconds behind Jakob. And then Dimitri looks like he's going to get a podium following up on, but it could be quite interesting. Dimitri makes it stick. And then it looks like Will Metcalf, Aegis, and then Massey. So that is pretty much your order for race 1. And then we're going to have a very quick sprint race. But first, we have to go to a break. So we will see you in about 5 minutes for race 2 here at the Virtual Open Wheel Series Italian Grand Prix. So everyone is preparing for another 8 laps of the Monza circuit. So we're getting ready now to go into the sprint race. Massey explaining that he has to go shortly. His issue we found out in the first race, in the feature race here in Italy. Well, not literally in Italy, but virtually in Italy. So Massey said that his issue was that he had overfueled for his second stint. So I imagine we're probably ready to go in a minute. I would just mute my mic until we do go. Slight issue with 8-6 there and their second driver. Advanced next session, we are ready to go. All non-essential personnel, please leave the grid now. I love that call, even though it does make my ears quite possibly bleed every single time we get into a race. So on sprint race pole, we have got one of the Ozen Invictus Motorsport cars. By the looks of it, it seems to be Alex Hallowes, which will be his first pole of the season, I think. But for some reason, rFactor doesn't want to show his name for me, which is stupid. But yeah, we'll have a look at the rest of the field here with my mouse cam. You see, I'm getting more and more confident with the cameras, which is quite bad because that means I'm getting more and more horrific, less production quality as we do this. So everyone on the grid now. Jakob, of course, starting last. And we'll actually see, can we go for the classic over the top view? Now that is quite trippy, I'm not going to lie. But yes, Alex Hallowes going through turn 3 for the first time. He will have a clear grid in front of him, clear sights on his screen, ready to do the job he knows he has to do to take, I think this will be Invictus's first ever win. Especially, I know definitely in this season, I know last season they didn't get a win, so it could possibly be their first ever win. We will have to see how this 8-lap race goes. Going through Lesmos 1. Weaving and weaving to warm the tyres before they stop again for Lesmos 2. And then now, obviously, this is a very, very short lap at Monza. Quite long in these cars because they're these cars. And apparently we've restarted the warm-up lap. I don't know what happened there, I'm not going to lie. Someone left the game. Gabriel Lafreniere lagged out. Right, okay. We'll be back in a minute. We're back. We're going to skip the formation ups. There will be no formation up after the incident we've just seen. But we'll ride on board in the T-Cam of Alex Hallowes, who, as we said before, will have a clear grid ahead of him heading into race 2 here in this virtual open wheel series Italian Grand Prix. So, very entertaining race 1 with a close battle at the front. 8-6 extending their championship lead. But obviously there might be an issue after the race with what team not Creox Baguette, sorry, Aegis Batars will be racing for, has been racing for, sorry. So Alex Hallow's on pole, we're waiting for the grid to form up, then those 5 lights will come on, we'll go underway, and we will see what the grid ends up looking like at the end of this race, when the checkered flag flies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can hear the slight whir of the engine as we go to lights out, and it is lights out, and away we go. That is a good start from Alex, but also on the no, just a good start from Alex, and his Ozone Invictus Motorsport teammate gets the tow from him, and everyone seems to be clean into turn 1 so far, and that is okay. I think it looks okay. Everyone gets out okay somehow through some miracle, and Joe Gillett actually goes through, abuses the toe of his teammate and gets through into P1. So Ozone Invictus Motorsport do lead 1-2 here, heading into the second chicane in Monza, and Alex Hallows goes wide, and immediately that's his race ruined. Pretty much unfortunate for him. That is the incident we usually get here in these second races in the Virtual Open Wheel Series. And Joe Gillett, or not Joe Gillett, Joyce Bilkins goes for the move on. We can't see it because everyone's going mad, and then that's Josh Jones messing up there, and I don't know which arrow button does which. So here we have Joe Gillett being pressured by Joyce Bilkins, who goes through for the move into Ascari, and he seems to make it stick as long as Joe Gillett doesn't get a good exit now. But then the 8-6 car, I think, of Max Weichel, who has had a really good first lap, is looking to go through. We'll have a look to see if he can. He can't at the moment, but then the Copic Motorsport car of Emma Hammond goes through, and then there's also Massimiliano Ribbioli, who looks to be getting in on the action, making it past, and then having a slight issue, contact with the wall, but we'll see what he can make of this run into turn 1. We know he has got quite decent top speed, not as good as Aegis Batars though, who is so fast through there, like a rocket into turn 1. It's just a shame that for the rest of the lap he doesn't necessarily have very good exit speed. And then there's a bit of an incident heading forward, and that's actually quite a decently sized incident. We'll continue looking at Massey until we go through. I think Max Weichel was caught up in that incident there, and then we have continuing on. So we have Emma Hammond leading the way, and he's pressurised by Max Weichel and Will Metcalf, who both go through, by the looks of things, into Lesmos 1. So Emma Hammond now in P3. We run Max Weichel, Will Metcalf, and Emma Hammond. So that is how we run at the moment. And then Invictus looking to not have... They haven't had the best start, have they? With Aegis Batars, Max is 8-6 teammate going through as well. So, Will Metcalf now looks like he's going to get the move done on Max Weichel. Dummy to the outside into Parabolica. Can he make the move done and done and dusted before Parabolica? He can't, but looks like if he gets a good exit off of Parabolica now, he could go through and easily make the move on Max, which he looks like he's going to. Not with the help of any slipstream, but if he keeps to the outside, he will have the inside for turn 2, as we found was so powerful at fence in the first race. And he looks like he's done that perfectly until he gets a bit of sausage curb, and that does ruin it for that does kind of ruin his move for this lap at least. Massey has retired from his home Grand Prix in the second race. Utter disappointment for him, and of course halting the charge to challenge Iris in this championship for P3. Ferrier Lozio's in the pits. I imagine he is also probably retiring, because you don't often pit in the sprint race. But Max Weichel seems to be in quite good control of this race as we head, as we are on lap 3 now, almost halfway through this race. Fabio Lozio out of the pits, so he hasn't retired somehow. But there seems to be a cluster of cars in this bit, and then just on the outside you can see Joris, Aegis, and the rest of the pack. But we will concentrate on this first cluster of cars and see what is going to happen. Max Weichel through Parabolica now. Easily done. Goes perfect through there, not touching any curb. Easy as you like. So to start lap 4 now, halfway through this race, he's got to just continue doing what he does. And then the Copic Motorsport car of Amma Hammond and also Jakob look to maybe make the move on Will Metcalf, but they can't. Is it Will Metcalf? Yeah, it is. And then Dimitri goes through, says thank you very much. And now Dimitri might be able to go for the move on Jakob if he stays in the slipstream onto the main straight, or even the straight after Ascari. 100 metre board quite early to make sure he gives Jakob enough room to not collect him. Slight touch the gravel there, but that is fine. Doesn't shift down Dimitri, as he gets a better exit than Jakob, but has to slow down. Maybe at 100 metre board, braking quite early for Les Mas 2 in the slipstream as we head on to the 2 big straights at Monza. Into Ascari, I imagine Dimitri will brake quite early here. He does earlier than Max Weichel and Will Metcalf do, from what we saw in their quali laps. Curb on the exit and curb just on the outside of the track there as he makes a shift down into the slipstream of Jakob. If he gets a better exit out of Parabolica, he might be in prime position to go and make the move into turn 1 and turn 2. Or maybe if Jakob gets into the slipstream of Will Metcalf and those two tussle, then Dimitri is like, thank you very much, I will take P2. Which he might be doing now in the slipstream, which is quite powerful, and we can see there that Jakob has gone for the move, and if those two tussle, then it could be Christmas for Dimitri, but they don't seem to, and Jakob makes the move stick. That was a lovely little move, as a matter of fact, and we'll look back to see if there's any more battles. There doesn't seem to be, apart from Criox Baguette and Alex Hallows. Alex, of course, ruining his pole position with that first lap incident, but with probably quite a bit of anger and frustration. He goes to make the move on Criox Baguette, and Criox doesn't defend too vicious until he does, actually. That is a quite insane move back to reclaim his position. And Jakob, in that time, has gone through on Will Metcalf, which we saw, actually. That was my bad. His teammate behind him. Second race points being very good for the drivers here. Dimitri in the slipstream of Will Metcalf, possibly going for a move into Ascari, you would think. He looks like he might be close enough for the move, and he brakes quite late, Dimitri, there, and he makes it stick. That was also quite a good move. But we'll probably try to get back at him. We'll look at this camera, actually, as we see him go to the outside, and he makes it stick with the better top speed that he has. And Dimitri, possibly in the slipstream, lap 6, sorry, we'll be going on to. What have I done? We'll look at Dimitri's nose cam, actually, and you can see how close he is, almost bump drafting Will to try and get to the cars ahead. Of course, it's not being NASCAR, so bump drafting not effective. You can look at the Amma Hammond going off there, giving Dimitri a free position. He's now going to keep having a go at that Will Metcalf move, but Max and Jakob to make it the Grand Slam pole. Not only will he get pole, but he could also get the sprint race victory here. That would be the first Grand Slam we've had this season, I think. And we'll have to have a look to see if he is able to make his move, shoot his shot, and dent the championship lead of Max Weichel and Justin Meister, who are both out in front, ahead of a lot of people, actually. Well, yeah, of course they're ahead of a lot of people. Turning into David Croft for a second there. And Max Weichel, it's a good defensive move there from Jakob. From Max, sorry. But now Jakob will, of course, be in the slipstream, which is a word I've said a lot through these power tracks that don't require much downforce. Obviously, lap 6, this will be the penultimate lap. And surely, with contact there, slight contact, but neither of them come off much worse. And I love this camera angle, actually, to show this to show this. I think Max having better speed than Jakob, but I also love how pointed the wings are. Jakob basically looking like he's going to go for the move using the outside, so he gets the inside in turn 2. Is he going to do it? Now, surely if you're Jakob, you're just going to stay behind Max and then make the move on the final lap. Or you want to make your move, on the start of the final lap, which won't be now, which will be when we go round again. So surely he's not going to go for it into here, and he's going to stick behind him. But no, apparently he does go for it into there, and he almost makes it stick, and he does make it stick. That was insanely clean racing from the two of them there. And Jakob with the Grand Slam in his sights. That would be very impressive for the Copic Motorsport driver. Max Weichel making a mistake there. This is almost as exciting as the actual F1 Grand Prix here. With the similarity being that a red car would win it, would take pole and win it. But Max Weichel goes to the move again, which is perfect for Jakob, who will now get into the slipstream, set him up nicely for the main straight, where he's just going to breeze past him, you would think. 6th gear. And he's going to go for it into Parabolica, actually. And it looks like Max is going to not get it, but now Max will be in the toe. And he's going to quite easily make it, you would think. We'll have a look at turn 1 from this camera angle. And Jakob brakes a lot earlier than Max on this final lap. But we'll ride on board with him for the rest of this to see if he can make the Grand Slam. And you think maybe he's going to go for a move into the chicane. It looks like he's setting himself up to. He's got better speed, but he brakes a bit earlier than Max and isn't able to make it. But can he get a better exit? He seems to get a better exit, but Max seems to get a slightly better. But for some reason, Max seems to get away a bit more. Into the first Lesmo, he can't make it stick. Surely into Ascari then. Or second Lesmo, sorry. Surely into Ascari or down the back straight into Parabolica, possibly. Otherwise, Jakob isn't going to be able to make the move. Max sends him to the outside. Jakob says, thank you very much, I will try around the outside. And it looks like they've made contact. And Jakob lets Dimitri through. And now Dimitri's joined in too. And now it's a three-way battle for the lead. Could Dimitri make a final lap, just lunge and maybe just win it? Either way, whoever wins this, Jakob goes down the inside and he's flipped it, and Max Weichel has also gone on. That gives, and then his teammate collects him. The two Copic Motorsport drivers collect each other, giving Dimitri the win, Will Metcalf the second, and Max Weichel the third. That was insane. He flipped it. Then was collected by his teammate off of the track. What an end to this Grand Prix we have had. There is going to be words between the Copic Motorsport drivers after that. But that does end it. You can see the finishing positions on your screen now. That is going to have to end this Grand Prix. I can't do interviews because I have got Le Mans to go to. So we are going to arguments already going on between Max and Jakob there. So I have got Le Mans to go to, so I can't go any longer on this stream. So thank you all very much for watching. Join us next time for Spa, which will be the exact opposite end of the spectrum with a really long lap time. So thanks for watching with a really entertaining finish there, giving Dimitri the win. So thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you all later. Good night.